So as we watch these dueling border visits here in Washington just moments ago, the House of Representatives did pass a short-term budget resolution that keeps the lights on in Washington, at least for a time, averting for now a government shutdown before tomorrow's deadline. Boy, feels like we've been here before, even just a few weeks ago. Democratic Congressman Krishnamoorthi is fresh off the floor for that vote. He joins me now. Okay, so avoided the cliff a few weeks ago, avoided it again, it seems, for now. When are we going to get our toe up to the cliff's edge again?
Well, it looks like we're on a week-to-week lease at this point, Jim, and the landlord is chasing us, and we're barely making rent. And we got to get out of this. I think that next week we're going to come back in almost the exact same position. We have to pass appropriations bills for 6 agencies. And then just a couple weeks later, we have to pass the remainder. And so far, as you can tell from our performance, I'm not sure if your viewers are inspired with confidence that we're going to meet these deadlines on time. But the sad truth is we have to, because the American people won't tolerate anything different.
Yeah, I mean, listen, elections have shown that. It's kind of interesting that Republicans still get on this path because it doesn't seem like voters like this too much. All right, I want to talk about the border because you got Trump and Biden down there today. As you know, Democrats in the Senate and the Biden administration, they spent months negotiating a deal with Republicans, which was then blocked by House Republican leadership and Trump himself. I wonder, was it a mistake for Democrats to allocate so much time expecting your House Republican colleagues to negotiate in good faith on this?
No, I think we had to do it. Quite frankly, I think we still remain at the table. We want to make sure that we can fix this problem. The border's broken, the immigration system is broken, and the challenge is that when Donald Trump kind of injects himself into the deliberations here and basically instructs Republicans not to work with Democrats because he wants to preserve the issue for his own supposed presidency or as an election year issue, he wants to deny Biden a win, then it proves nearly impossible to get past that obstacle. All that being said, I think we all recognize we have to keep working at it.
Let me ask you this then. What should President Biden do now? Because Donald Trump has already said publicly he doesn't want to give Biden a win. He's willing to allow what he calls a national security threat at the border to continue unabated throughout the year for political benefit. But that's just a fact. That's how he operates. Should the president act now via an executive order to address what you said is a broken border?
Yeah, I think he has to do whatever it takes to address the situation, whether it's executive action. While we're still waiting on a legislative solution, I think he has to pursue that, and I think that's what they're doing. The only challenge, Jim, as you very well know, is that only a legislative solution can tackle at least 3 important issues that executive action cannot. One, we have to change the standard with regard to asylum. It's not working right now, and that's why we have such a mess in terms of the millions of people who are taking advantage of the current definition of asylum. Secondly, we don't have enough resources at the border. For instance, ICE does not have the resources it needs to do its job, and so we have to add more resources for personnel and technology. And then the third is there have to be some limits with regard to the numbers of people that can come through the southern border, and again, that requires a legislative solution.
Trump sabotaging this to give himself a political advantage in November?
It's interesting. I don't think so. You can just look at the Tom Suozzi race in New York 3. I happened to campaign there. It was razor close. It was razor close until Trump did what he did with regard to injecting himself and basically instructing Republicans to deny Biden this political win. Once he did that, Tom Suozzi was effectively able to say, look, we have to fix this problem at the border. But when President Trump does this, it just politicizes the issue, and that really swung independents, in my opinion, toward Tom Suozzi. I think at the end of the day, independents and other voters want us to do the right thing, and that is to work together to fix the border right now.
You just returned from Taiwan. I wonder, as Ukraine aid continues to be blocked by House Republican leadership. Again, it seems under pressure from Trump. Does Taiwan look to the U.S. abandoning Ukraine and fear that the U.S. will do the same to them regarding the threat from China?
They would not say that openly, but I think at the back of their minds, they probably think that. And in every conversation that we had with the president-elect, the current president, leaders of the opposition, they all asked about this Ukraine aid package. Yeah. That was part and parcel of every conversation. Are you guys going to pass that aid? Are you going to make it possible for the Ukrainians to defend themselves? They see their own future bound up in what happens in Ukraine, because if Russia is able to invade with impunity, that only invites potential aggression by Xi Jinping towards Taiwan.
Is there any viable path right now to get that Ukraine, and we should note, as you know better than me, it's Ukraine, Israel, and Taiwan aid. Is there any viable path? Is a discharge petition the only way forward at this point?
Possibly, but as you know, a discharge petition is complicated in itself as a legislative maneuver. But at this point, I think we have to put everything on the table. And I've signed the discharge petition. We need 218 people to sign it, meaning we're going to need Republicans. We're going to need a bunch of Republicans to step up and do the right thing in order to tee up this particular bill for consideration on the floor. All that being said, there are creative solutions here. The problem, Jim, is we come back to this issue of Donald Trump. Donald Trump, again, is saying to Republicans, don't pass this Ukraine aid. Yeah. And, once he does that, again, they are basically, in my opinion, they're kind of torn between listening to their constituents and the American people, which they should do, versus listening to Donald Trump. I wish that they would do more of the former and less of the latter.
Congressman Krishnamoorthi, appreciate you taking the time this afternoon.
Thank you, sir.